Hi there, I'm John of John's Carnivorous Plants. This is my indoor nursery, and today we're going to talk about Sundew cloning philosophy. Now, this was a off-the-cuff video that kind of spawned out of a conversation I had with somebody in my Discord, and it's mainly because I realized a lot of my cloning videos and stuff like that in the past, they don't go in depth with philosophy, okay? And I think that's why this video is going to be called Sundew Cloning Philosophy. In that I show you guys how I clone them, but I don't really go into a lot of the reasoning of why I do what I do. So I always clone Sundews by taking leaf cutting or leaf pooling in the case of Pediolaris, which we'll get to later. And we'll put them in a little deli cup like this. You can find them, they're like Jello shot cups, ranch like dressing cups, or whatever you'll find them as. Usually most grocery stores you'll find, at least like a little small case of like, 100 or so. These work exceptionally well. And then for me, they have the added bonus that I use them to flip over once they're empty and then recycle them to like ship plants out because I'll use them to protect plants when shipping. So for me, they get dual purpose and they're awesome in the fact that like this is technically tissue culturing. So this process in which I utilize to produce my sundews is the most basic form of tissue culture. It's called water culture. Most people, whenever they're cloning sundews, they don't even realize it, but yeah, you're actually performing a form of tissue culture, especially if you're using water, because water is your medium then. And there is aqueous solutions you can use to boost your success rate with sundews and whatnot whenever you're cloning them. But that's a conversation for a far future date after I work through all the other stuff I got written down here. But we got to get back to it of whenever you're cloning a sundew, you want to get the leaf down, and this is for everything but Pediolaris and a few other exceptions. We'll get to that in a minute. But you want to get as close to the stem or let's see if I can get yeah, here we go. We got a spatula I could abuse real fast. And here are my skizzers. So, got a little piece of dirt on it. So we got the spatula out of here, and I don't know how well I'll be able to do this. But like, yeah, I'm not getting it good enough. So there, I think with it still on the plant. Let me see if I can get it to focus for you. Is this leaf right here? It's not focusing too good. There we go. But this guy, as you can see, that's enough to just toss in some water and it'll regrow. The biggest thing is you want to make sure you have the entirety of the pad. So I'm trying to get this out here for you. See, for all those people who always ask in the comments for me to do live demonstrations, this is why I don't do it with these kind of videos, because man, it's just terrible for the takes. But yeah, you want the little pad here. Oh man, yeah, it's not getting in focus. Sorry, didn't work out as well as I thought it would. But basically that pad is from where most of your little clones are going to sprout out. I did just plant some clones recently. Yeah, but the leaves have already disintegrated out a little too much. I don't think they're going to be a good visual aid. But they'll come out of the central part of that pad most often than not for most tropical species. Things like Pygmies and Pediolaris, and then there's a few oddball other species. They like leaf pullings better, and with a pygmy it's incredibly difficult, and it's actually kind of the reason I don't carry pygmies or sell them. Is it's not that I can't clone them or like I can't get them to produce gemme and go from there. It's just my philosophy with what I want to do here with this nursery is eventually over time, as I get to a larger and larger setup, have more automation, I want to be able to consistently provide year round and always have some level of stock of all of my species. Pygmies, I can't really do that with. Pediolaris, it's kind of hit or miss too, but it's just, there's a little bit of a difference in the fact that Pediolaris, whenever I'm cloning them, I'm typically taking one of the divisions and then stripping it entirely down. But with a pygmy, stripping down an entire pygmy, well, I just stripped a pygmy that is only going to give me maybe 3 or 4 successful clones. And the gemme it would have produced, the following, like January for me would have been like, 50 plus or whatever, quite a significant amount of gemme versus the very few asexually reproduced plants that I got from the cloning process. So pygmies are kind of a pain, can be done. I just don't recommend it because they're too small. They don't have enough sugars in them. And it's a similar story with tuberous sundews is what I've heard, is that people can't get them to grow large enough before they need to go dormant. So they can get them to strike, they can get them to grow, but then they have a problem actually establishing them. So it wouldn't surprise me if someone's able to come up with a regiment not too long from now to actually figure that one out. It'd be pretty awesome to see. And I hope one day here soon I can give my hand at that. It's actually kind of funny. I haven't had tuberous sundews in about 5-6 years. I had a few of them and just, they never went dormant for me. And then whenever I forced them to go dormant is whenever they die for me. So lesson learned is that I want to go for species that are a little bit more subtropical. And work with those because I think they have the best chance for cloning success, that you can then take a protocol and work your way through the rest of the tuberous sundews. But my protocol for the Pygmies sundews, to my knowledge right now, I learned of it from several other sources that there is possibility of Pygmies leaf cuttings and stuff like that striking in the past. I basically took the philosophy of cloning from a Venus flytrap and just like straight pulling down, making sure you get that white little bit there, a little bit of the rhizome, or rhizomal tissue. But in the case of the sundews, the meristomal tissue. And from there, it seems like they're able to actually strike. They are opposite to all of the other sundews in that you'll have almost every other tropical sundew, they'll form from the actual leaf tissue, but the pedicellarians seem to only want to form much from that meristomal tissue, much more closer to the base. So if you just take a leaf cutting of a pedicellarians, no dice, you're not going to get anything. And I know some of the species I've heard people get reports of success with leaf cuttings. I doubt it because every time I've cloned all of the species I have, they've always struck right down there from the meristomal tissue. So I'm looking through here. Wow, I actually covered everything in one go without even looking at the outline. The one thing that I want to leave you with this video that I hope if you stuck this long you can get some value from is that persistence is key. If you want to have long-term success in cloning sundews, you need to just keep doing it. I didn't get good at it overnight, and it was actually really a fun thing. Like, my first sundew was a Drosera venista, and whenever I first cloned it, I didn't use little deli cups like this. It was about 2 years on that I finally switched to this method because, well, I was pushed to it because of how little space I had at the time. And then now it's just funny because it works because they're single, well, not exactly single use. I can get usually 2-3 uses out of each cup and then clean them out, ship them out. So I get a few uses out of them, and they're nice little sterile environments. Which that's something I should mention is cleanliness is always what's going to do best. If you notice the water's clean, I could see through it, and you can very clearly see the plants. Over time, they'll start getting like this. And that's from the decomposition of the leaf tissue over time. That's normal. If you see them getting, well, I should say like green tea color, normal after a few months. Okay, because it could take you anywhere from a month to 3 months with some of the species. In the case of pedicellarians, could even take up to 6. So they look like green tea, you're okay after a month or two. If they start looking really brown, you need to be a little bit cleaner with the material, because not only is your cloning material having to compete with, oh, now I'm ripped apart and I need to start growing again, it's now having to go against all of these other bacterial infections and just all kinds of other nastiness. And of course my power just went out. Lovely. I guess on that note, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and like and subscribe. Hopefully the illuminating company in my area will be able to keep the power on better and more consistently. Check you on the next video. Have a great day.